Hi, you guys. Today, let's talk about how to disrupt negative thought cycles in 3 steps. So, how do we stop the sucking negative thought whirlpool effect that happens when we just cannot get out of those patterns of just we start downing everything we're doing. Why are we not as successful as we should be? We start seeing just everything around us as being against us. It feels like it can feel like one thing leads to another, and it creates this almost this impossible feeling thing. It feels impossible to get out of. So how do you stop that whirlpool effect? How do you get out of that sucking cycle? Let's get right into it. We're gonna start by recognizing when we're in this thought pattern, and you will recognize it. It might not be easy to call it out because a lot of times when we're feeling in this negative cycle, it tends to suck our energy. It's hard to focus. We feel distracted. And so to actually bring awareness to it sometimes can feel like that's the biggest task right there. So you got to start though. Everyone, we all have our certain tolerance limits for how much crap we're willing to take, how much life we're willing to lose before we're like, enough of the crap, enough of the negative thinking. I'm ready to disrupt this pattern. I'm ready to live a life that doesn't have to be defined by being reactionary to everybody else. I don't have to live a life that is, cause and effect, cause and effect from people and situations around me. You can choose to take back your life, take back responsibility for your actions, take back responsibility for the outcomes, take back whatever level of success you've always known that you're meant for, take that back. So first step is to acknowledge that you're in the spin cycle and that it is something you can get out of. So start by right there. Perfect. That's it. The biggest step right there is that first step. Acknowledge it and acknowledge you can stop it. You can get away from it. So first thing is to look at those thoughts, acknowledge them, write them all down. This might feel hard at first to get going, kind of like you're just starting to get that big ball rolling, but as you get it rolling, more and more thoughts will come. So write them all down, brain dump all the thoughts and beliefs that are making you feel like crap. Whatever those little thoughts are that are coming into your head when you're feeling down about yourself, down about your situation, go ahead, write them all down. And then with that, what we're going to do, all those thoughts, we're going to forgive them. We're going to forgive those thoughts. So you're going to go through those thoughts and forgive each one. So here's what that might look like. You might say, I forgive, and you're going to forgive yourself for these thoughts. So, and you can forgive others if however they apply. You can just forgive, release. So you might say, I forgive myself for procrastinating. Forgive myself for not trying hard enough. I forgive myself for not being as far along in the process as I'd hoped. I forgive myself for being distracted. So why are we doing this process? Why the forgiveness? Why the recognizing? Because through this process, you are stepping out of a negative victim mentality and you're taking back your power. And with the forgiveness, you're releasing the power that these negative thoughts have held over you. It's like you are just, instead of, letting them be like little arrows into your brain, it's like, imagine just a video game where you just blow them away and they turn into little puffs of smoke and they release their power. It's amazing. Forgiveness is a huge, huge, powerful tool. Don't underestimate its power. So you're going to acknowledge, you're going to forgive, and take back responsibility for your life and your actions as you do this. And as you forgive, imagine each one of these thoughts, imagine they're like these dry, crusty scales that are falling away from you, just falling right off, helping you breathe better, helping your skin feel like it's more vibrant, beautiful, revealing you, a beautiful, vibrant, resourceful you. So that's the first step, is just this awareness and forgiveness. It is a process. It can take 10 minutes. You might take days. It really depends. I always suggest starting with baby steps. Just, you can block aside 10 minutes to write and forgive and see how far you get. If you're ready to go deeper and do more, go for it. But always start small, and you can build up as you go. So with that, you've released a whole lot. You're feeling good. But now it's like, okay, you might be feeling kind of neutral, kind of in this neutral space. So what's next? So next, you're going to start activating your creative problem-solving brain by asking questions. So some examples, you've got a dream, you've got something you want to achieve. There's something that you were wanting to do before the spin cycle. So taking that back, that idea back, those dreams back, and considering them. And this is a great place to just be super, again, stay in that neutral space, be as objective as possible, and ask yourself questions. Some examples of questions might be, am I willing to do what it takes to achieve this outcome, to achieve this thing I desire, to achieve this goal? When have I done something like this before? Or when have I achieved something like this before? When have I accomplished something like this before? And just let the answers come. And then what if the worst case scenario happens? What if the worst case scenario happens? And you may have heard an exercise like this before where, so what if the worst case scenario happens? Write it down. What's the worst thing that can happen? And then what? And then what happens? Okay, and then what happens? So you keep going. So at least like 7 levels of asking that question. So, and then what? And then what? And then what? And the point is, typically when you ask yourself that worst case scenario question, you get to this point where you realize, even if the worst case scenario happens, you are still resourceful and you still have options. It usually doesn't mean you end up dead on the street. There are usually some great options. So that's a great question to ask. And if you're finding yourself still feeling kind of stuck and at a loss for what to do next, maybe this is a great phrase. I know I don't know the answer, but if I did, what would that look like? And then let it all flow out. Get out all the ideas. Trust that you know the answer. Just say, I know these answers. The answers, and you do. These answers are all inside you. Again, it's like that ball. Get that ball rolling, and once they start, they will keep coming. If the writing, the actual physical writing, is not the best process for you, usually that actual physical writing is very cathartic for people, but you could try using a voice recorder. You could try typing on your computer, whatever works for you to get all the words out. So you've gone through those 2 first steps of kind of healing, forgiveness. You've gone through the next step of starting to get the juices flowing up again. And then the third step for really disrupting that negative thought cycle is to focus on forward movement. Forward movement, that's anything. It can be anything. It can just really keeping that goal, that vision in mind as best you can, and working yourself towards that. Just little baby steps every day. They can be tiny. If you've got a big, huge money goal, maybe maybe some of it requires learning. Maybe some of it requires making some phone calls that might be a little bit scary. But just keep trusting in that vision. Trust that you're here to make a difference with your life. Trust that you are coming back from this negative thought cycle and into a powerful place of action taking. Trust that it's the right place for you to be. Trust that you have a ton of wisdom, a ton of potential inside you, and that you are capable of handling anything that comes at you. As you get to that worst case scenario, you can handle it all. take as much, again, take slow steps, just like a little tortoise. You can pull into your shell every once in a while if you need to, kind of regroup, call on others for help, but just keep going, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And then when you're ready, big leaps, big jumps, and then you can go back to baby steps, baby steps. But just really acknowledge what you need for you to keep yourself moving, to keep yourself out of those negative spin cycles. And a big one is if you start noticing yourself as you're doing those forward movements, if those little thoughts, those negative thoughts start to come up again, just go through this process again and give yourself a ton of grace, a ton of patience. You are still human. We are human. These cycles happen. They can be seasonal. They can be based on situations outside us. Even with a great mindset practice, keeping really positively oriented, there are still times where maybe we get sick or something and we just feel like we just get swept off our feet. Give yourself, again, forgiveness and grace, and get your mind back. Take back your life as soon as you're ready to get going again. So I hope this helps you today. Please comment if anything really struck you, and I'd love to hear how it works for you. And please be sure to share if there's anyone you know who would benefit from this. Thanks again. Have a great day.